Welcome to the Vandy Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Lee. Our guest today is Tommy Smith. He is the special advisor to Athletic Director Malcolm Turner. Our podcast is hosted by WellSpire, Nashville's Learning and Development Center. WellSpire offers personal and professional development opportunities in a beautiful facility in the Gulch neighborhood. Stop by for an event with world-renowned speakers or host an off-site event that will wow your team or your clients. We thank our co-sponsor, the Well Coffee House, which turns coffee into water and has a mission to bring clean water to the world. Our news presented by Sutherland and Belk, an SEC sports-loving injury firm in Nashville. These guys will shoot you straight on your rights and options. When you've been injured in an accident, call them at 615-846-6200 to get your questions answered. You can also visit them online at sbinjurylaw.com. Vanderbilt and UNLV play football on Saturday. That game at Vanderbilt Stadium, 3 o'clock p.m. Central. It can be seen on the SEC Network. Our guest line, presented by Boll & Branch, started by Vanderbilt graduates Scott and Missy Tannen. I've slept on their sheets for years and don't regret a single minute of it. They are fair trade certified. That means they're made under safe conditions by men and women, treated and paid fairly. Try them for a month. You can return them for free, but you're not going to want to. Once you get the sheets, try the mattress. That was voted best mattress of 2018. Go to bollandbranch.com. That's spelled B-O-L-L. Enter the promo code Vandy and get $50 off your first set of sheets. Tommy Smith joins us now. He has got the title at Vanderbilt of the special advisor to the athletic director. If you have lived in Nashville, you probably know the name Tommy Smith, especially if you're connected in basketball circles. Tommy has had a huge impact on the game locally. He has worn a ton of hats. Last job before Vanderbilt, if I'm correct, was VP of Operations of the G League. Tommy, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you very much, Chris. Happy to be here.
And did I get the title right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and tell folks about all the things that you've done. I've got your resume from Vanderbilt's website in front of me. There's a lot to go into, and I'll just let you start from there and give folks your background.
Well, thank you. I was a coach. I coached at Cumberland University and Austin Peay in Middle Tennessee, and then in the old CBA. And then I ran teams in the CBA on the business side and worked for Isaiah Thomas, and was enjoyed that. Lived in Sioux Falls for about 8 years and had the time of my life. Got a little cold, but it was just a great experience. And ran the Jack Nicklaus. I was a marketing director for the Bear Trace golf courses for a while, and that was a lot of fun. And worked for Jimmy Sexton, so I've been a sports agent, and then was at the NBA for 13 years. So I like to say I know just enough about basketball and business to screw them both up. But I've had a lot of experience, and I've just always tried to do the right thing everywhere I've been.
Tell us the story of how you wound up at Vanderbilt.
Well, I was at the NBA, and I started in what's called TMBO, T-M-B-O, Team Marketing Business Operations. And we were, the development league at the time was independently owned, and we were having some hiccups with owners and whatnot. And then David Stern and Adam called me in and wanted me to move over to the development league. So I moved over there, and from there became vice president. And when Malcolm came from Washington Sports, I was already there, and I was basically running the owners' meetings and running the league. And 3 or 4 years, I may be off a little bit on both sides of that, but it's pretty remarkable when you think about it. It probably should take 2 years to add one team, because you've got to pick sites and negotiate arena leases and set up ticketing structures and organizational plans, and then not let the NBA GM, control it too much, because there's a commerce element to it. So did that for 5 years, and when Malcolm got the job down here, I was probably going to retire. Excuse me. I was just taking too many flights. I was tired. And so I never moved to New York. I lived in Nashville the whole time and flew out here quite a bit. So it worked out good for me just to drive on over to Vanderbilt every day, and I'm glad I did.
So, how long did you know Malcolm? How frequently did you work with him at your last stop?
Oh, I'd say every day uh, on all expansion. Obviously, he was involved with everything. I would, basically let him. He'd let me know when I need to come in, and then he would go. And uh, so I worked with him every single day, and took hundreds and hundreds of flights with him. So we spent a lot of time together. It was very enjoyable. It was a lot of fun. It's one of those where you just lower your head and go. And now that I look back on it, I'm thinking, how in the world did we do all that? But at the time, you just keep your eye on the bullseye. And I'll give one example. We were at the All-Star game in New York. I don't remember the year, and Masai, the Reggie, the GM of Toronto, calls and wants to meet about a G League team. And we generally want to start a team, announce it in like September to start the following year. So this is February, and he asked, would we consider letting them get a team for the next fall? And we talked about it and decided yes, we would. This is like 6 months, and we left the meeting, and I told Malcolm, I said, we may live to regret this. And I told, he laughed, said, why? I told him everything. And it turns out it was such a good decision because the Raptors were so easy to work with, so proactive, so forward thinking that it went off without a hitch. So, you never know sometimes, but that's, you make a decision and you go with it. And that one certainly worked out.
You started at Vanderbilt, what, in the spring?
I'm going to say April or May, yeah, somewhere in there. I couldn't even give you the exact date.
What was Malcolm Turner's pitch to you like?
It was, our relationship is so easy going. I'll say it this way. When I would go in for my review at the NBA, it'd take about 5 minutes, you know. So it was just like, it's hard to describe. We just talked about it. He was going to do a job description. And I said, Malcolm, if you tried to write my job description down at the NBA, it'd be hard to do that. And we both started laughing. So I'm just here to help him, Dr. Candace Lee, our deputy AD, and support the coaches. And I'm just trying to make everybody better and help out where I can. So it's probably more art than science in terms of the exact specifics of my job, but that's kind of what I'm doing. Hopefully it's helpful.
What have your first few months been like? And what kind of things have you most been involved in?
It's been quite fun. I've probably most been involved in working on some strategic planning and master plan, facilities planning, and things like that. I'd say that's the main thing, and then just little things here and there, helping people with marketing, and I've gotten involved in the Hall of Fame area a little bit, and trying to make everything we do better. I'm not one to ever second guess what someone's done before. I don't do that. Just trying to build on that and make it better.
What have been your moments of, I guess, surprises, good or bad, or challenges that maybe you're into now that you didn't anticipate?
I wouldn't say I didn't anticipate them. I'd answer it like this. Uh, Certainly, I'm very impressed with the quality of head coaches and assistant coaches we have here, and I wasn't surprised that we need to upgrade our facilities and resources for our student athletes and programs. I think we're probably a little behind in that area.
You have worked in college athletics before, Cumberland, MTSU, Austin Peay, so you know what it's like to work on a college campus. But it's been a while. You've been in other things. You've been in golf. You've been in the NBA, and you've never been in a place like Vanderbilt. What are the challenges and surprises of that? How's that different? How's being in college athletics and at Vanderbilt different than what you have experienced before?
I don't think Van's got so many opportunities here. It's such a beautiful, sophisticated, innovative university full of top-notch education and resources and programs, and it's built on innovation, trust, teamwork, integrity, all those things. I think where we have lagged a little bit behind is some of our athletic facilities, and and I'm not talking about a 100,000 seat football stadium. We don't need that, nor do we want that. But what I am talking about is we should have smaller, but smaller can be better. And And as I say that, I've grown up around here, and I've always heard people say Vanderbilt needs to lower their academic standards. I disagree 100%. That's their standards are fine. I reject as false. You can't be an intelligent, good student and be a good athlete at the same time. You certainly can, but we need to provide them with a little better developmental facilities in their chosen sport. Just like if a young man or young woman comes here and wants to major in law, they're going to get the best of the best. If someone comes here in baseball, our facilities are top notch. We're probably a little behind in some of those areas, but it's a great opportunity. And as I say, Vanderbilt is a leading university in the country. The integrity, the faculty, the administration. I just think the opportunity is there to even make Vanderbilt more noticed for what's needed around college athletics and college sports.
We've talked a lot about facilities. That's a big priority. There's been no secret. And I know that there's probably a lot of things that you can't say, but what can you share with fans regarding what's coming with facilities, the direction, the process, timelines, anything like that that might lend insight and encouragement to our listening audience right now?
It's a great question, and timeline. We're looking hopefully to get some things further down the road this fall. But in terms of facilities, obviously, I think football needs something better. Does it need new or renovated? That's to be determined. But also, we need, I call it the Monday through Friday facilities. We need a sports performance center for nutrition, wellness, weights, mental health, all those types of things that our peers have and our competitors. And the type of athlete that Vanderbilt recruits, they understand that. Now, you don't need a new 70,000 seat stadium. You need a modern stadium that has all the amenities that the fans want to come enjoy and be proud to be there. So it's not one or the other; it's a combination. And I think you'll, as we move through this plan and continue to push that forward, I think you'll see something along those lines.
Well, again, I know you probably can't speak to specifics, but what are the concepts in terms of the fan experience? And any hints, like you've talked about maybe smaller. I think most people would agree that's needed. But what is it that you want the fan experience to be like? And how might the stadium renovation or a new one or whatever for football, and for that matter for basketball, how might that be reflected in what you guys do?
It's another good question. I think it needs to mirror the overall quality and cutting edge and excellence that the university stands for. And what I mean by that is some premium seating, top-notch food and beverage opportunities, cleanliness for the student experience. You know, I like the idea of a gathering place. They don't just need a seat; they need a place to hang out and watch the game, things like that. And make suites need to be better, more modern. One of my big things here is I want people to feel very proud to be a Vanderbilt fan, and we need to do that with our amenities and competitiveness with teams and coaching staffs and all of that, and that's what we're working towards. And Vanderbilt has all that. Now we just need to try to get a little bit better facilities in some areas. But when you go to a game that you just feel like it's comfortable, your seats are wider, maybe they're theater seats. I'm not outside, but you know what I mean, things like that. And actually got a call with the architect today, and we talk about that type of stuff.
Okay, everybody knows about the series of articles in the Tennessean last fall that seems to have sparked some changes. And I've talked to some people off the record. These are people they'll tell me things that are critical of the school. They'll tell me things that are positive about the school. And one thing somebody said to me this week is he said, I think the board cares about athletics more than people know. I've had other people say to me things like, losing is not part of the Vanderbilt brand. At the same time, everybody knows the challenges. You have some additional difficulties at an Ivy League type school, and faculty sometimes are not always maybe understanding of the value of athletics the way that people like you and I might be. Um, with all that said, what do you sense that the buy-in for the school is on these things going forward?
I certainly haven't met with the board, so I can't speak to that. But I do know this: everybody on this campus cares about all the students, whether it's a student who's in the Blair music or a student in law or a student in athletics. So Vanderbilt does everything they can to develop their students, and they're the best in the business at it, and they do care. And I think the buy-in is my, you may even know more than I do. It's there. Vanderbilt wants to be the best in everything, and they are in most everything. And if you look at our athletic program, baseball is as good as anybody in the country. Stands for everything good. Both men and women's golf are good. Tennis is doing good. We have a lot of good stories. Now, basketball was down last year. Football was humming along. We need more resources there, to improve and keep up. There's a lot of good stories over here that probably don't get told, in my opinion, as well as they should have. But that's our job to try to highlight that a little bit.
Well, and my sense was that the hire of Malcolm was strategic in that I think he's going to be more of a liaison maybe between the university and athletics than his predecessor was, perhaps. I don't know if I'm taking license with that, but that is kind of what I have gathered. And he's going to be more part of, I think, the university as a whole. I guess that obviously has got to help some things. And Malcolm seems like the kind of guy that probably would be able to live in both worlds and do okay.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he's here to build and improve. I know this, he wouldn't have, I don't want to, if there was a Big Ten school called about Tradee's job, he'd still be at the NBA and he'd probably talk me into still staying there. This is such a special opportunity. This is such a fantastic university that's about developing students and educating students and providing them with every opportunity to be. There's, this school is so much above reproach in how they do things that I know that attracted him here, and there's so much opportunity. I've lived in Nashville really basically my whole life, and this is a special place. And when you look at the landscape of college sports, Vanderbilt is everything that it should be, or even from an educational and athletic standpoint. And so I know that attracted him to it, and myself too. I grew up in Nashville. I saw Pete Maravich play in Memorial Gym, so I've been around these parts for a while. And I reject as false that you can't be a top-notch student and still be a top-notch athlete. And I just don't buy that. It's not, it works in baseball, it works in men and women's golf, and all these other sports. We just had to catch up with some facilities in some other areas to attract those types of folks.
Tommy, I've got several questions from listeners if you're okay to take those.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Our mailbag is sponsored by Vanderbilt fan and independent insurance agent Josh Minton of Brentwood. If you need home, auto, motorcycle, renters, landlord, life, or commercial insurance, Josh is a guy to contact. Call him at 615-933-1979. Email him at josh@hqinsurance.com. Follow him on Facebook. His handle there, JD Minton HQ. He is my insurance agent. Give him a try. If you got nothing to lose, give Josh a call, see if he can get you in a better insurance plan and help out one of our dear sponsors as well. Door King says, how much discretion does Malcolm Turner have in making coaching changes? Does he need chancellor and or board approval? Does having an interim chancellor make coaching changes more difficult?
It's a great question. This is an unofficial answer because I don't know, but anything like that, you're going to run it up the chain to the chancellor, even with interim chancellor. I think that would be the case. We are all part of the university, so nobody acts independently. And I think even if he didn't have to do that, he'd do it anyway because he's a collaborative guy and wants everyone to understand what we're thinking and things like that. So I hope that answered Dora King's question, but it's a good question, and it's not a decision I don't think any athletic director would make in a vacuum anywhere in the country.
S.R. Kane says, what, in your own words, is the internal climate and expectations around athletics under Malcolm Turner?
That the uh, we're not going to roof on our ability to be better, that we status quo is not good enough. Now that takes a little time because like I say, we need better resources. There's no doubt when you look at your resources, we look at peer universities of ours, but you also look at who we're competing against because that factors into it also. But our whole mindset is the sky's the limit. Don't settle for anything less than being the best we possibly can be, and I believe in that too.
What are his work days like? Because I see him out and about a lot. I mean, he's got I mean, to say his plate is full, it's like Thanksgiving dinner stuff hanging off the plate full right now with facilities and other things. What kind of weeks is he putting in these days?
Oh, they're long days, and he's smart enough to prioritize and understand the big picture, and that this doesn't happen overnight. The kind of type of progress and changes we hope to make, but it's no. I always say this is no different than anybody else working for a living. This is what we do, and it's hard work. I don't think it's complicated. Medicine and things, and maybe aviation and things like that. Those are complicated. Ours is hard work, and he chips away every day, and as we all do. And I think there's a lot of good folks over here in Magoogan who work hard and their hearts in the right spot. And we're still about developing students and educating students, but at the same time, in terms of our athletic department, giving them the tools and resources to succeed in those areas as well.
Crime Door says, and I understand if you can't speak to specifics, but he says, what improvements to athletic facilities can fans expect in the short term, and what can they expect in the long term?
I know there was some new scoreboard in Dudley Field, and the bathroom renovations. In terms of long term, I'd rather not go into any specifics, but I would say this: everything's on the table. We're not going to paint a door green and say, "Hey, we improved this place." That's not happening. So we're pushing the envelope to improve everything. And I had somebody mention to me, and they said we want to be able to compete every 4 years, and I was rather polite but very stern. So I didn't sign up for that. I don't want to get beat 3 out of 4 years. We're here to have an opportunity to win every year. Now that doesn't mean sacrifice academic standards, and it doesn't mean anything. It means in order to compete, be the best you can be, and go out there and let the chips fall where they may. And that's kind of what we want to do.
I know that with facilities that is centered around basketball and football, and understandably so because baseball has got wonderful facilities. And I know that the turf right now is the thing, and that probably was, I'm going to guess, a little bit of an unplanned thing. There were some issues with the drainage that sort of popped up because it had been so good for years, and now that's something that is being addressed. And if it's not completed, I guess it's close to it. But is there anything else potentially on the table for baseball? I know at times there's talked about expansion of the stadium, maybe even putting seats over the press box and making that a covered area. Is there anything there that has been discussed?
Not specifically, but we certainly will with Tim at the appropriate time. But I will say this: we're looking at all sports, not just basketball, football, and baseball. We're looking at soccer, lacrosse, tennis, uh, obviously football and the facilities there. So there's no sport that's not being talked about. Now, when you do something of this magnitude, obviously a phasing in piece, and you've got to do that because you can't do it all at once. But our other sports are, as I said earlier, are very good. Darren Ambrose and our soccer team, I've really gotten into watching them, and I wasn't too much. I wasn't a soccer fan. I just had never been exposed to it. I love to go watch those ladies practice and play. It's a lot of fun. And same thing with lacrosse and men and women's tennis. I really believe Vanderbilt's got a better story to tell than's been told, and we want to tell it about everybody. Our bowling team, is won a national championship. I don't care what anybody says. You win a national championship, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Couldn't be more proud of them. So we're looking at everything, literally everything.
Next one comes from Ann Arbor Door. Excluding championships, what criteria do you and Malcolm Turner view as critical to success in Vanderbilt's athletics department?
I think it's getting the resource to whether it's baseball or football or basketball or tennis or golf, whatever it is. It's I call it the Monday through Friday. Nutrition, wellness, weights. Vanderbilt is so cutting edge everywhere on this campus. We probably could be a little bit, probably close the gap on the athletic side on that. And it's funny you mentioned Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor Door, was that the name?
Yes.
in the fall of 1969. I think I was 8 years old. My dad took my brother and I. We went to Detroit on a Friday night, September 14th, and saw the Red Sox and Tigers play. And the next day was Saturday, September 15th, which happens to be my birthday, and we saw Vanderbilt play at Michigan, and it was Bo Schembechler's first game. I've still got the ticket stub. I think that's kind of neat. Just
That is neat. I was up
Ann
there
Arbor
in
made me think of
'05.
that.
Yeah, that's a neat
Yeah.
place.
Oh, it's great. It was a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of, you got in on the baseball deal, I guess, at Vanderbilt, right? Right before they started the postseason run and all that. I know I saw you at some games and things like that. What was it like to watch that up close?
Well, it was a lot of fun, and I knew Tim and Maggie before I got here. One of a dear friend of mine, actually is coming in town tomorrow from the NBA, knew Tim from way back when and would fly up here every year, and we'd go to dinner and watch some baseball. So I got to know Tim and Maggie. I already knew them, and it was interesting. I'm such a fan of Tim Corbin. He's so good. He's so intellectually curious at what he does. First time we went to dinner, all I wanted to do was talk to him about Vanderbilt baseball and how he does things. And all he wanted to talk to me about was how the NBA's running and what made David Stern great. It was funny. And I'd ask a question, he'd answer, then he'd ask me a question. So I'm just a huge fan of Tim and Maggie and what they do, and to be able to watch the tournament. And as I was in Omaha twice, was there, came back, went back, just to watch them work and what the program stands for. Obviously, winning was spectacular, but it's the class of the players, the dignity, and I think the Louisville game was a great example. I think it was the eighth inning or ninth inning when the Louisville pitcher got a little bit emotional and said a few things he shouldn't have said and whatnot. And if you notice, the Vanderbilt players never lost their focus on what the task at hand was, and we won the game. But that's not the issue. The issue is our concentration and our discipline and our focus was not determined by what somebody else does. It's what we do. And that's why Tim Corbin is great. And had we not won the game, I'd be saying the same thing.
His ability to take things from other areas of life and pass those on to the players and to incorporate those into the way that he runs the program is incredible. No, look, I know Malcolm is the boss, obviously, and he's got his own set of people. But I have to think at certain junctures, he's the guy that you have to call in the room or make a phone call to on stuff just for the way that he has gone about succeeding at Vanderbilt.
If I'm a coach anywhere in this area and I want to learn, I call Tim Corbin. That's how good he is. And he's just intellectually curious. He does things the right way. I've spent some time over there this fall. I enjoy watching them work because it's so neat. And I'm not talking about how they bunt or execute a hit and run. It's about the development of the student athletes in both off the field and on the field. And he's terrific. He really is. You can't say enough good things about him. I'm actually having dinner with him tomorrow night. I'll come with my questions. He'll probably come with his.
I want to skip back a little bit. I had a follow up question that I forgot to ask you. Obviously, there's lots of things to facilities. There's the planning, how that all fits in, what you can do, what you can bite off, short term, long term. There also comes the funding piece in that. And I know sometimes you've got to know what you're fundraising for and what the goal is before you can go there. But you've also got to get a head start on those things. How does that work out? What has Malcolm done in terms of what's the plan for the asks on those things? I'm sure that he's probably made some. I don't know if those have been specific asks or more like, hey, we've got some plans. Would you be interested in helping our football program or whatever? How does that play out in terms of the funding piece and where he is on the asks?
I can't go into specifics, but what I will say is we've been on several donor meetings, and I think the appetite is this type of program behind it, university as well, and more to come on that end. But like I said, we've been on several meetings and talked, generally what we want to do and why we want to do it. And I think Vanderbilt fans are just chomping at the bit to come to games and see some progress and some improvements and some buy-in and I was driving by. I was in Memphis last week, and I'm driving by the Liberty Bowl, and it's kind of a rough stadium. It's been improved, but they're getting like 40, 50,000 people there. And I'm thinking, why in the world do we not do that here? But part of that is we have to improve our resources and fix the stadium and things like that. But that's all part of the plan, and that there's more to come. And I just can't go into these specifics.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. I know that that's something that you guys got to nail a lot of things down before you can talk to specifically. I want to switch to basketball for a minute. Let's start with Mr. Vandy. He says, "Have you attended any basketball practices so far, and how have they looked?"
I went to one. It's been about 2 months ago. Before they could work out 20 hours a week, and they look good. And so I have not been to. I could go every day, but I shouldn't, and B, I just haven't had the time. But I will tell you this: when you see a Jerry Stackhouse team play, you're going to see a team that's very disciplined, that is very committed, is well schooled, is mentally tough, and will give you everything they've got. That much I promise you. And I'm very confident in Jerry and the staff, and that we'll be better than we were last year. That much I'm sure of, just because he's there.
Well, you obviously worked with him and saw him in the G League. What are your impressions of him as a coach? What does he do best?
He's an excellent coach, and he really commands respect. You don't play in the NBA for 18 years unless you know what you're doing, and I don't just mean shooting and dribbling and playing defense. He's a very intelligent man, has a great presence about him, and walks in a room, you feel it, and the players are buying into what he's doing, and they're working hard over there. And I'm looking forward to the season. This is a rebuild. You lose 20 games in a row the year before. That's I guess that's a blown engine. But it's getting fixed, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I enjoy him, and I think Vanderbilt fans will be very proud of him.
I've met with Jerry for about an hour and 15 minutes to work on some stuff that I was doing for Blue Ribbon and also some things for the site. And the thing that struck me about him that I didn't expect is at no point in that conversation with him did he play the "I'm the Jerry Stackhouse" card, or "I spent this much time in the NBA," or did this. Like, he never mentioned that once. And that really
He
was
never
not
will.
something I was expecting going into that meeting.
He's not like that at all. He's a terrific guy. He's very intelligent. He knows what he wants. You'll never see that about him. I kind of laugh. I was in Toronto a year or two ago, and he's coaching the team, and it's like they'd practice that morning. I came by, shoot around, and they just got through. We were talking. I said, Jerry, do you ever play with them? At that level, you can do it a little bit. And he kind of laughed and nodded to his manager. So I told him to get my shoes this morning. I kicked their butts this morning. We just busted out laughing. He's not going to ever mention that. I'm telling you, they're going to be well coached. They're going to play great defense. They're going to execute, and they're going to know what's expected of them. All the things you want in a coach. And now we just got to improve the roster from year to year and those types of things, and we're ready to roll.
You hit on some of these things, but I'll let you take this question to elaborate. Papa Hick 4VU says, give 3 good reasons fans should be excited and encouraged to attend men's basketball this upcoming season.
Well, it's a great question. I don't know if I can give 3, but since he asked for 3, I'll try to. One of them is Jerry Stackhouse and what he brings to the table. Aaron Neesmith is a really, really good player, and so is Saban Lee and others. They'll be fun. And the rebuild, and I don't want to say rebirth. That's kind of corny, but you lose 20 games in a row, you're rebuilding, and you will walk out of that gym thinking this team is competing, and we're getting the most out of them. And if we go down, we're going down swinging. I guess that's about the best way I could describe it. Because this is a good league. This league is really good. 6 of the 12 or whatever, 14 teams in the league. 6 of the coaches have been to the Final Four. This league is underrated in basketball, in my opinion. And so I think you go to those games and you'll enjoy it. And like I said earlier, in Kansas, I want to give them reasons to shout at the top of the rooftop. They deserve winners. They deserve to be heard, and I hope we can do that for them.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the coaching. I did the math on this a few months ago. I think that the coaches in the league right now, the 13, aside from yours, are 2,200 something games above 500 at the college level, which is
Oh,
crazy. I think Tom Crean has the lowest winning percentage of anybody in the league. He's been to a Final Four and he's won the Big Ten twice. So
these
look,
guys know what they're doing. You're not
yeah,
kidding.
I mean it's tough to win in this league. So with that said, and look, I think you're seeing this in different walks of sports. You don't necessarily have to be an establishment guy to win in sports these days. You see that in other examples, but it had to be, I guess, pause for thought when you guys made that hire with Jerry. And I guess you weren't around for that, but I'm just thinking through this. It's like, okay, we're about to hire a guy who's never coached a college game, and we're going to put him in the middle of that.
And that's right. But keep in mind, this is not something that's built overnight. Jerry and his staff, they're laying the ground structure, the infrastructure, so it's built to last. And there's no quick fixes in this thing. You got to lay that structure, and those guys learn what's expected of them. Excuse me. And he's done just that. And you're right. This league is good. I know most of the head coaches in this league. They know what they're doing. It's hard, just like football. This is the best league in the country, and actually, I relish that. I like going up against the best. It's fun. I play golf with people that's better than me. Sometimes it's not as fun because I always get beat, but it makes me better. And I believe in Vanderbilt. I believe in that Malcolm and Candace and our administration, and I believe in this university. It's the best university in the best city in the best conference, and we have to provide the infrastructure and the resources that our coaches can get people and recruit people and develop student athletes, because there's enough of them around the country that can get in here, that will want to come here, will flourish here, and will come back here. And that's how you build your alumni base and your donor base and those types of things. And when I say donor base, I don't mean to infer we want them to come back and give money. That's not what I mean at all. I want them to come back and enjoy it. We've got this weekend the 50th anniversary of the Vandy football team that beat Alabama. I was actually at the game with my mom and dad then. I think I was 8 years old. I had breakfast with Christy Hought last week, and there was a little video thing, a reunion for them. I'm kind of involved in some of those types of things, even though the NCC is doing it, but I'm helping them. I want to do more of those things. I want these people, I want people. I'd love having people come back. They should do that. We owe it to them. So, and I've heard from time to time, maybe we haven't been as focused on that. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. We're going to be focused on it.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to Jerry with another question, but what you said prompted one for me just now. The outreach portion to former athletes, a lot of them feel like the effort hasn't been made, and for that matter, you hear that from former season ticket holders. Like they'll say, I've had season tickets for decades and I've never gotten a call. Look, you guys have got a ton of stuff to bite off right now, but I have to presume that there will be some intentional effort in both those areas.
No question. And when I hear that, it kind of breaks my heart. And I've asked several of them also, what do you mean by that? And they sometimes don't have an answer, which leads me to believe it's 100% art and it's 100% science. And I'm getting more and more calls from folks about not necessarily issues, but we'll get them done. And anybody can call me and email me, and I will meet with anybody anytime. I answer every email. But I'm glad people say that. It means they want to be involved. It's like I get a lot of emails when things don't go well in sports. That's already happened a couple times. I don't mind it because it means people care, and I'll listen to them. They should be. I don't ignore anyone, and I may not agree with them. That's fine. But every fan deserves to be heard. And if we expect people to come to these games, they need to know we're listening to them. And I promise you, I am, and I know Malcolm is. And anybody can call me or email me with any questions, because I believe in this mission. I didn't come here, I didn't come here to just have a job. I was going to retire, so I'm totally bought in. As long as my knees hold up, I got bad knees. But I love it when people say things like that, because it tells me they do care. Now it's our job to respond to that, and I don't mind doing it one person at a time.
I want to circle back to Jerry. One of my takeaways from meeting him is that he's very content to work within the constraints that he has. In fact, he says, we're going to have kids who will come here. They're going to be challenged, and they need to be able to do the work and things like that. I've heard a lot of coaches and some who've had success and some have not, who've complained about the requirements and having to work with this and working with that within that. What struck me about Jerry was this disarming sense of, okay, this is what it is. I've got to work with that. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to use it to my advantage. That was one thing about my meeting with him that was very surprising, was that he was already just kind of accepting, okay, this is what I'm gonna have to work within. I'm gonna use that to my advantage. I'm gonna make the most of it.
That's exactly. Look, Jerry Stackhouse is the consummate professional of high integrity. His great family. I mean, he's a good guy. He's very intelligent. And I've often said, I can pay somebody minimum wage, tell me why something doesn't work, and I don't really respond to complaints too well. It doesn't do any good. There's nothing to apologize about this university. There's enough intelligent kids that can get in here that are good enough to play. We just have to provide the resources and recruit the right folks, and Vanderbilt can win. I just reject this false. I think that's when things go bad. Sometimes they look for reasons to validate why they're going bad. This is not complicated. It's hard work, but these students, if they can get in this school and they're good enough, why wouldn't they come here if we give them that opportunity? And I think Jerry looks at it from that standpoint, and he's not afraid. He is not the slightest bit afraid of competing and doing it the right way. And I'm like you. I admire him so much for that. It's never even entered his mind.
Vandy Creed says, do you anticipate an increase in the production values and game experience at basketball and football?
Well, certainly, yes. New lights in basketball. We're looking at new the acoustics and things of that nature. Yes, I do. I do anticipate those. And that's part of the experience. We're kind of behind on that, and in talking about facilities, we're not going to go spend $1 million renovating Dudley if we're planning on doing something major a year later. So we'll use some intelligent management there. But by the same token, we're trying to do what we can do in the present, and you will see some improvements in Memorial Gym. Yes, sir.
VU Matt says, are they doing any specific ticket packages for basketball this year?
Well, that's a great question. I should know the answer to that because I meet with them a lot. And stupidly, I got to say, I don't know specifically, but I'm sure that we are. There's a couple of things I'm working on with them I'd rather not go into, just not necessarily from sales. One thing is I'm tired of coming in, going to our games and seeing more visiting teams, fans than ours. So there's a couple of things I'm working on that I'd rather not speak to yet. But anything specific, the ticket office could help you. And if you call the ticket office, you don't get called back, which would be a surprise because they do a great job. Excuse me. Call me, and you'll get a call back immediately.
I know that challenges and lots of them and big ones are kind of what make you and Malcolm tick, but you guys have got to feel like you're drinking from a fire hose some days.
Not really. I really don't. There's a lot to do, but it's not like things haven't been done before. They have been. You've got to. Obviously, we're in the business of educating students. That's what Vanderbilt's about. It's every school. So we have to do that, but at the same time, try to catch up in terms of some facilities and some infrastructure things. So it's I don't really look. I just think it's fun to try to be part of the solution, and it's a good challenge. If they come in tomorrow and tell me they don't want me anymore, that's fine too. I'm just doing the best I can. But I really wouldn't. I don't view it. I don't view it. I just view it. This is what I'm getting paid to do. I'm trying to make a difference and do it with the right spirit and the right enthusiasm and for the right reason, and educate students and give them the opportunity to succeed, whatever platform they choose, whether it's over at Blair in the music or the political science or medicine or athletics. Those are all part of Vanderbilt.
Last question from the mailbag before we wrap up. This is from Vandy Creed. He says, give us a good story on Ron Bargatze.
Ron Bargatze is one of my favorite people on the planet. I've known him for a long, long time. He's just every time I talk to him on the phone, I just feel good about it because we share a love of Vanderbilt, and I can go with him history wise. I can hang in there with him. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm probably not going to answer the question, but I will tell this. This is not really Ron, so I apologize for. There's so many stories. We'd be on there for days. But when I was probably 14 or 13, I can't remember. My sister went to Peabody, and I can't remember if it was part of Vanderbilt then or not. But her sweet mate was dating Butch Fear, and they came over to our house for dinner one night, and I've never forgot it. It was, it was one of the highlights of my life, the F Troop, and I've gotten to know Butch, saw him at Jerry's press conference, and have talked to him through Ron. Ron's got me in touch with a lot of those guys, so maybe I'm answering your question indirectly, and we're actually going to go on a golf trip here relatively soon on a weekend, and for me, I almost feel like Forrest Gump to have that happen, and then all these years later get to know Butch, and I'm going to go to, it's just a thrill. And Ron put all that together. And in my office here, as I sit here, there's a picture of Perry Wallace, who I saw play at Vanderbilt. And then there's a picture of Roy Skinner, who I went to the basketball camps. So for me, it's quite an honor to be here. And look, I'm not at Vanderbilt if Malcolm doesn't give me the keys to the back door. I'm a good enough student to get in here, so I'm lucky to be here. But I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can help this great university.
Tommy, we covered a lot of ground, and I don't really have any more questions of you, but I want to ask, is there anything that we didn't get to that's worth mentioning or anything like that? And to that, the floor is yours to address the listening audience as we close.
No, I would say, I don't know how Chris, do this, but you've got my email. Anybody can email me anytime. I answer every email. I'll be more than happy to anybody who's got a concern. And I would just say, I hope that Vanderbilt fans, I wish we need more of them at the games, and there's some improvements need to come on all facets, but don't give up. And this is your university. You should be proud of it, as you all are. And we really want Vanderbilt fans to stick their chest out and enjoy. I tell the story. A good friend of mine, Todd Jenkins, used to be at Old Hickory Country Club with me. He's been a Vandy fan his whole life, and the ups and downs. And I don't mind when folks show a little emotion. It's because they care. And Todd, he came out to the World Series. I got him in the suite, and it was so much fun just to sit there and watch him grinning ear to ear because Vanderbilt won. And I want those words to come back a lot. Vanderbilt won, because we can do it the right way. We will do it the right way with the right people, the right students, and this can be a model for all college athletics.
Tommy, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe we'll do one of these again.
Anytime. Anything I can do for anyone, go to the website. My email's there, and I look forward to doing more, Chris. And thank you very, very much.
You bet. He is Tommy Smith. He is the special advisor to Malcolm Turner. I'm Chris Lee, the host of the Vandy Sports Podcast. We appreciate you listening. We'll be back with more episodes again next week.